I think it feels like 2 minutes since we were in August. We've decided to use a different room. We've never been in here during the season, have we?
No.
500 videos and first time views in here.
This is referees room 1, which obviously on a match day this is always used.
If we had one word to sum up the season, what would you say?
Wet.
You won't go as far as disastrous then. There's probably quite a string of words we could use.
No, I won't say disastrous. There's been quite a few low points, but there's been some high points as well. But it's certainly been unique. I would say that we obviously with the amount of games that we've called off, and we're back end of May, and we should still have a fixture. It has been called off now, but 31st of May's last fixture, that's never been heard before. It's a bit ridiculous, really.
I mean, you've been managing since sort of 2008-ish in terms of senior football. Where would you say this season ranks?
Well, actually coaching, it's my 32nd year this with juniors and obviously, like you said, seniors, and I've never known out like this.
So when we go back to like one word observations of the season, is challenging probably the word, or the toughest?
There's certainly been a lot of challenges, yeah.
But most challenging, most toughest?
It probably has been, yeah. I've been fortunate in past that I've never been involved in a relegation dogfight, and up to a couple of weeks ago we were still in mix to potentially be relegated. So in terms of that, yeah, it's been toughest.
I mean, one thing I've always noticed as well, certainly when I got involved with the club, you don't strike me as someone who takes, and I think we joked about this actually in the season preview interview about kicking dogs and stuff like that, and you said about having a dog, but you never struck me as someone who went home and you said you're about big on grandkids and spending time with them. Whereas this season, do you think you've took it to bed at times, football, more so than ever before?
I have. I mentioned in a video not so long ago that sort of probably 10 years ago I'd have been completely different. It would have probably impacted on me a lot more, but I just let things sort of see themselves out now. But there has been times, and I mentioned it before, that I've been getting up at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning thinking, is that rain hacking in that conservatory roof? And as soon as I look out at window and it's tipping it down, you're thinking,
you call it right there and then.
That's game done this weekend. So as regards to taking it to bed, my intention isn't to go to bed to think about it, but rain wakes me up and then it has an impact, yeah.
Because I'm not sure what the date of the game was, but you look back at the Headcliff game and the closing shot's quite telling. Now, you'd got there late because I think you'd had a parents' evening or something, and it was obviously a disaster from start to finish because I think we conceded after 2 minutes. And the end shot is you sat there just sort of staring into space in disbelief. And I think that's the first time we've got plunged into, if we were in a relegation battle, we always sort of kept our heads above water, but if we were ever going to face one, that were it. We were struggling for bodies in terms of, because of all the Sunday games, and I think there was a Sunday final or semi-final that weekend. Was that probably, where does that sort of rank in the season, that if there's a lowest moment, which there's been a lot, is that the moment?
I think that game, as you say, preparation weren't good, and I'm big on preparation. Obviously I'd got commitments with work, so I arrived literally as we were kicking off, and I remember walking around back at top goal we played at Swinton's ground, next Remains ground, and literally as I walked around top goal we conceded from a corner, so 1-0 down inside a couple of minutes. But I think the thing what disappointed me most that day, where I looked at players, and I like to think that regardless of who plays for Wombwell name, whether it's this year, whether it's 5 years ago, whether it's 30 years ago when I played, me and Toddy and the likes, when you play for Wombwell main, you play for a shirt. And I think that day I looked at quite a few players and thought, they're not bothered about result. They've turned up, it's a sunny day, we'll see how the game goes. In 10 minutes they could see we're going to be a tough game, so they just rolled over, and I pride myself in having a team that will compete. And that day I thought, we're struggling here. There's too many players, or it doesn't impact on it. Result doesn't matter. But we were stuck because of the number of players that weren't available. So we needed the players more than they needed the club, and it was quite evident to me in that game and a couple of games after that they didn't really want. They just wanted to run out. They're not going to be at Maine next year. Do I want them at Maine next year? No, I don't want that type of player here. But we just had to get through season, and we have.
And I think one thing what's a bit of a myth about our season, like I said, it ended, let's be fair, disastrously from a results point of view. Now, we had issues from the first day of the season in terms of getting the side out, there's no two ways about it, because we had a very scratched 11 at Jubilee and a scratched 11 plus subs at Dodder to a certain degree, and then we lost two players at Segar and Atley before the Hemsworth game, but managed to rally together with a couple of bodies. So we did, up to sort of January, have problems getting a side out. We had a good run in January where we got 16 bodies out every week, but then obviously if you look at the first half of the season, we lost 3 games in the first 13 games. So that you look at that point of view, we weren't in a bad place, even though we were struggling to get bodies out. However, I think the 6-week break when we were all up north and etc. with all the pitch, players just lost interest in, didn't they? And then we only ended up with a few more Saturday fixtures. And then you look at and what would you say as well, the effect of all the Sunday League semi-finals and finals had on us?
I think you look at going back to pre-season, the first pre-season training session we trained and I invited my 16s along. And I think about 40 players for first reserves at 16s. You look at his first friendly against Rec, and with 23 players, we turned out 2 separate 11-a-sides for each half. So start at season were really positive, and like you say, I think Jubilee game there were a couple on holiday. We ended up getting a decent result. Well, we drew 1 apiece, conceding last minute. Dodderth game didn't play particularly well and got what we deserved out of that. But like you said, for first half of the season, results went alright, and it's going back to what I said 2 minutes ago. Players pulled shirt on and played for shirt, and regardless of whether the so-called best players in league or best players in squad, they played for it as a team, and we got results that we deserved. And that period where matches were off week in, week out, you get up Wednesday, raining, so lads straight away just switched off, well, game will be off. And once that momentum hit, it was difficult to get players back involved. I remember the first game we played for a few weeks, a couple of lads said, I've arranged to go out with girlfriend, I've arranged to do this. I didn't think we'd be playing, and it's been that sort of...
Well, I think the Ulterbridge game, which was the game, I'm sure there was heavy rain on the Friday night, wasn't there? Yeah, and they played next to a river.
and Peach played well actually that day, and we played well. We should have won that game.
But again, there were players playing dragged in.
There were players saying, well, it's raining, I didn't think it'd be on, and I don't know, it's just you can't do a lot about that.
But what would you say the effect of all the Sunday? Because we as a Saturday team, we were in the Rotherham, in the Montague, and in the League Cup. But if you go out them competitions early doors, you're up the creek. Whereas all the Sunday League teams, obviously they play till the 31st as well. They've got an awful lot of competitions to play at, which you can't blame them.
No, and you look at sides what some of our lads play for, the successful Sunday sides, and you look at, for example, Westville. Our Jake's played for Westville for probably 10-12 years, and I know all lads who coach there, I know all team. They've won 4 trophies this year. So back end of the season, when we're scratching for sides, and it's coming to sort of Wednesday, or Westville lads, well, I can't play tomorrow because we've got a semi-final, or we're playing at Sheffield Senior Cup final on Sunday, and you can't blame lads for that. It's just, as I say, it's just backlog of fixtures we had. they prioritised the Sunday football, and can you knock them for that? You know, playing in a sort of dead rubber game on a Saturday, or playing in a Sheffield Senior Cup game on a final on a Sunday, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I don't think we're the only club affected by that.
No.
And I think if there's lessons to be learned from it, there's always been an unwritten rule around Sundays. If they play midweeks, they play Tuesday, Thursday, and because of how bad the weather's been, it went out the window certainly towards the end. But there needs to be probably, if there's lessons to be learned, and it's hard to say this as well because it's difficult with all the games, but leagues need to be talking. There can't be an attitude where the County Senior League turn around and say we're the premier competition in South Yorkshire, players should prioritise us. There should be a bit more joined up thinking, shouldn't there?
There should be, and you know, Saturday is always going to come before Sunday in days of week, but
midweek is a free for all.
But if you've got, like I say, if you've got a big final or a big semi-final, and bear in mind some of these lads who started season with us, as you know, we gave them an opportunity to showcase the talents, and they got picked up on what they were producing with us in first half of the season. So they got picked up by these teams. Some of them it were their first final and the first semi-final, so they're not gonna, you know, they're not gonna turn around and say no, I'm not playing on Sunday in this final, because it might be the only final they'll get to. As it looks, as I said, they've gone on and won league and 3 cups, but I've not got no issues with anybody choosing a final over something.
But I think it just highlights the issues.
It does, and like you say, that unwritten rule that Tuesday, Thursdays, Sunday days, and Wednesdays and Mondays at Saturdays, it just went out that window. It were a case of, and I think league registrars, they were sort of grasping, and I know, I keep harping back to my under-16s, we were in exactly the same position. So I'm trying to arrange games thinking that Saturday sides are going to be playing on Wednesday, my under-16s will play Tuesday, Thursday, and then some weeks they'd throw a Saturday game in on Thursday. So it scuppered things for me as well, but it's going back to that one-off freak season.
What would you say was the, you know, when you look at games you've had, what would you say that, I'm not meaning goals, we'll come to that in a minute, but what would you say are the highlights games-wise?
I think Denby away were a game that I'll remember for a while. We went 1-0 down, and quite early on in the season we went 1-0 down, and Ryan Wingrove had a great game. I think it was anniversary of his dad's death, and he got 3 goals, but as a team performance it was a really good performance, and at that point you're certainly looking up and thinking, you know, a few more performances like this, and you know, it could be a season like season before, and you're competing towards back end of the season in top 3, 4, 5 places. It didn't pan out like that, but I would say that game was one what sticks in my mind is probably a highlight.
I think we had a bit of, I know we'd lost at Epworth the week before, but like you say, it wasn't a bad start at that point when we got the result at Denby, but that's when the rain came, because I think that was the following week when we went to play Emsall. Right. And I think that's when the rain started, so we had a bit of momentum where Ince had played, Mickleway had played for the first time.
I think Hallamshire were playing at that time.
Yeah, and things just went out the window.
Yeah, and again, people came and played, did well. Nobody's going to look at players who aren't playing well, and teams who are at the bottom of the league, and at that point we lost probably, again, 2 or 3 players mid-season because they were playing well, and people came and offered them a little bit of money. And
I think as well, there were 2 games that stand out for me, particularly Hallamshire away, where I think the league were looking at, people in the league were looking and thinking, well, they've lost Attlee and Seaguard in one fell swoop. What kind of... Obviously Attlee left, I think, Wednesday night to go to Don if you got that phone call late at night, and then Seaguard went the following day. I mean, in terms of yourself, did you sulk about it? Because when you think about, I mean, in terms of sulk at the time, because you're looking at your squad and thinking, we ain't got a side here for Saturday, we're playing Emsworth away, who at the time everybody thought would do better than they actually did. When Attlee's rung you at Wednesday night at 10 o'clock, were you powerless to do anything till the morning?
Well, you can't do anything anyway, can you? But I remember both them two lads came in and were probably as best two players pre-season and start at season. Sega was scoring goals at me, he was doing what Atlee can do. So it was 24 hours more. We were fortunate that these lads had said they wanted to play a couple of matches, or he hadn't been available and he made himself available. So he came in went on off bench and had an impact as a sub. So you look at one door closes, another one opens, and both lads who came in took the chance and did well.
And it had a big impact that time because it got us that first win and we had massive momentum going into that Swinton game the following week. And then you look at the Swinton game in January, it was possibly the most complete performance of the season. The 5-0 win.
That game away, I mean, I've spoke about Billy before. I've known probably longest serving manager in the league at side of me, Billy. So I've known Billy a lot of years. But I thought at Swinton away we did really well. And just a good all-round team performance. We didn't ever look like we were going to lose that game, and it's probably the last time this season we've looked and thought every time we go forward we look like we're going to score. It was a good performance, that.
So, what would you say the best goal we've had this season? And we're only really talking about the league.
It was probably in that Swinton game. Bailey got ball out wide on left, and he cut inside, and I think it was a cross, and he sloped over at keeper and got in net, and a couple of lads on bench were winding up saying he didn't mean that, and then 2 minutes after he did exactly the same, but definitely meant it. So I think that second goal Bailey scored at Swinton.
Shall we show it over you talking as well?
Well, it'd be nice to see. It was a good goal. First one possibly a fluke, second one there was no fluke about it, second one was a good goal.
I mean, there was some good team goals at Denemy, wasn't there?
Yeah,
Wingrove and Bailey was involved actually in that Denemy game. I think he tackled someone twice.
He won ball on probably in the final third, and played a through ball through and set Winnie up. Emsworth, there were a couple of decent goals.
Atlee's scored that good goal at Stockbridge, which was a big moment in the season.
Yeah, 1-0 up, and we were sort of, I won't say desperate, but we were looking for a win. We were 1-0 up, and they had a player, I think a player come off injured. They went down to 10 men, but they were pushing. Then Atlee's got ball cut inside and fizzed it across goal into the bottom corner, 2-0 with 10 minutes to go. So that sort of, it was a bit of a release that we should hold on to this, which we did, and again that was a good performance and a good win that night.
So I think we're big mates from now though at Southampton. So I think the best goals conceded is that Lucas Stubbs goal, isn't it?
Yeah, it was quite funny at the time because they went 2-0 up. I think it was game after we'd played Epworth and we played on Swinton on Mexboro's ground again. And so obviously I'm like, we've got to put a better performance in than against Epworth. And we went 2-0 down pretty early again. I'm thinking, same old here. And then Ben Day got ball just in front of the dugout, and Mr. Stubbs made a comment about he's going now, he don't want it, he's going now, and he's danced out line, he's whipped across it, and we've equalised. So we've scored, I think, really 2-1. And he looked at me, and I just laughed at him. I went, he's going nowhere. And then we equalised, and then the minute before half time, and I said it at the time, he's scored arguably the best individual goal I've seen in county senior while I've been involved. Picked ball up, nutmegged one, Cruyff turned another, dropped shoulder. 3 players, he dropped shoulder that much, 3 players had to pay to get back in ground, and then he scored. and he's come running over towards me, and Donovan says he's coming for you here. And I'm like, can't go anywhere.
We didn't put it on the video though, it cuts out, doesn't it?
He comes running over and he goes, he's going nowhere, and I just went.
You went straight for him at half time, though.
I went, mate, I've said it was a good goal, and it was. And we had a few words at half time, and then fair play to him, after half time, the team talking, I don't know if Dave said something to him or what, Bruce come straight over to me before we kicked second half off. And said, look, it's a game of football, mate, we've all done it. I said, fair play, what a great goal. And then every time I've seen him since, he comments about great goal, and I still stand by it. It's as good a goal as individual goal as I've seen in all my time in county senior.
So I went on Saturday to their game, and in the bar afterwards, David had a few pints. I offered him £62.50 for Stubbs to go and play with us this season, but he says he'll take 67, so we'll show him a loop round to try and get him in.
You'd have to raise that extra fiver, because I ain't got a fiver.
But obviously a great club, and we've got a lot of time for him, so we'll look forward to playing him this season.
I sent me congrats over.
I think Dave's my second favourite manager in the county senior league.
Who was your first?
I think this bit. I think if you're into referees, I think there's a case of look away now. I think we will mention a couple more from a light-hearted view. Who's your favourite referee?
I like Dan Carn.
Yeah, well, I knew he'd say that.
I like Tom Holloway. I like Tom as a kid.
What about his error though? That's up there with question of sport, isn't it? That with Donovan kicking off twice.
Oh yeah. You look at that, and you, like you say, light-hearted look at referees. You look at Dan Carn's probably most memorable moment from our point of view. What Stocksbridge goal penalty, what he awarded, and then went and spoke to his assistant, and then they come to the right decision in the end. And then you look at Tom. Donnath kicked off twice, and I never saw this other one because a ball was cleared and it came off head of can't even remember who were playing, but he headed it. Oh, obviously Donnath. He headed it out of play, and I'm appealing football. He went, no, I says, watch video and then you can send me a letter of apology. I never saw that clip up video, so I don't know. I never got my letter.
Oh, what about another good decision this season? What about that throw-in? And you've seen him since.
Oh, that throw-in.
Which game was it?
It was Ben Knox, that up here.
Was it Jubilee? It was the week of the League Cup final. I can't think who we played.
It could have been Monday night against Jubilee. Ball were nowhere near. And I looked round at him and I said, you can't even blame son, mate. Someone in your eye. And he made a comment, but all the ball were out. I said, well, look on video. And on Friday night we went to...
The video hasn't gone online. It might have been out of Maine actually, or possibly.
Yes, it was out of Maine. Yeah, it was.
So if you want to know which clip we're talking about, it's on the out of Maine video.
And then the Friday night we went to League Cup final, and the guy on other side, other assistant, he came in and I said, oh, what about? I said, have you seen it?
But the video had been online at that point. I'd put it in the group.
Right, I'd got it on my phone, so I showed him and he went, oh, that's an howler. and to be fair, about 5 minutes after, he walked in and I said, I want to show you something. And I showed him video and he looked at the ball is clearly a yard in play. And
Did he say he didn't want to have a look at it?
No, he looked at it and he went, I still think it was hard to play. And we had a laugh about it, but referees have got a massively tough job, and you know, we help them, we don't play a game, and in heat at moment, again going back to 10 years ago, we're a completely different animal, and I used to probably berate referees as much as anybody. I don't know, I'll try and let them get on with the game, and hopefully they respect that from us. But had some good refs up here, we had some good crack. And
I think one of the concerning aspects for me is you look at Dan Carn and even Tom Holloway, that's our first season in this Premier Division, and they've promoted a few, but obviously it's well known there's a shortage of both. But my only issue with it is they've promoted a few, but you could argue these referees should be like Mick Belson time, having 2 or 3 years experience at this level. Whereas every year now we're going to get a host of inexperienced refs. They'll be good in time, but I think that's concerning that you're not referees developing the good skills.
You don't want them pushing too quickly because it could have a detrimental effect on them. I mean, a lad who I know who's reffing, and he went down to have a couple of games for us, and funnily enough they got rained off. James Kay, I had James as an 11-12-year-old at Wednesday's, great footballer, and I watched him. I've seen him referee a couple of games. He reffed our reserves away at Seskew, and he's a good kid, and I think James will end up getting promoted in next year or so. So there is a lot of good ones, but you're right, you don't want the promotion coming too soon for them, and it being too big a step for them, because we need referees and we need young referees. And
I feel that the videos that I did at Oakwell with the officials, talking about highlight the careers so far, one with Dan Carn, with Nick Wells, the assistant referee at the New York. I feel there'll be some people who might turn around and say, "Oh, Wombwell man, they're always looking to criticise referees," but I think you look at them videos and you show that to people who aspire referees, you can't tell me that people won't look at that and think, "Oh, that could be me next year if I do the test."
I don't think we do criticise. We'll appeal for a foul, I think, but every team does that, and I think there has been some potential big moments what's gone against us.
I think that's my next question. But we haven't most controversial game, and I think it's only just finished. I think he's been still playing for 6 months. Alterbridge. You look at first game of the season against Jubilee. We 1-0 up, and probably Jubilee deserves something out of the game, but we just put a dogged performance in. Every one of us worked hard, and they scored with 11th minute at injury time to make it one apiece. And then you look at Alterbridge game up here, exactly the same referee. And scoring in something ridiculous again, like... Well, it would never justify that.
It would dark.
Well, you look at... I mean, it sounds bad mentioning, but one referee... we've only had 3 games where the games lasted over 96 minutes. And it's the same referee.
I spoke to him at end of the Alterbridge game, and again they equalised 10-11 minutes into injury time. And I spoke to him after, and I says, why are we playing? He says, well, it's a league directive, and speaking to a few people after, I said to him, well, that's fine, if that's what league directive need to do, that's fine, but all other referees are getting it wrong, and you're the only one who's getting it right. And when I spoke to people after, it wasn't a league directive, certainly I think it's something like step 4 and above, that they're looking at that sort of injury time. So it wasn't a league directive, so actually all other referees were getting it right, and
I personally thought there were some decisions in that game, particularly timekeeping, which shouldn't... We've only had 3 games where games have been excessive added time, it's the same ref, but I also felt the challenge on Wingrove when he got tackled and then punched. I just thought the whole... Look, if anybody watches back at that game, they'll see where we're coming from. I think on another light-hearted referee thing, but I won't name the game, people have to find this for themselves. We've had a referee almost celebrating a goal as well. Do you remember that one?
I do.
He almost high-fiving him.
He ran back to halfway line like, woo, woo, woo.
But he almost high-fiving him, wasn't he? I think he patted one of them on the back, didn't
he? He certainly knew goal scorer's name.
But if anybody wants it, I've actually spoken to this referee since and I said
he's ref.
Well, don't say which one it is.
He's twice and both games.
But I have spoken to this referee, so it's not like I'm saying out. I know I'm laughing about it with him, but if anybody does work out which game it was, you'll see.
Actually, that second game he refed, and he did a similar sort of thing. He got my under-16s the day after. We were away. I think we were away at Sheffield Rangers, and we got through to ground. And
you were waiting for it.
No. And I says to the manager, he come over and says, referee can't make it. And I just started laughing. I says, why? He says he's played this morning and he's pulled his hamstring.
I had nothing to do with nothing to do with a controversial YouTube video.
I said to him, so he hadn't gone celebrating with team what's won league and all that, and he had no idea. We had a laugh about it, but he didn't ref. He refed it Saturday. Should have done Sunday, but pulled his hamstring Sunday morning, so he didn't manage to.
He's an alright ref, the one we're talking about. If anybody can work out which clip it is, you'll see what we mean. So just moving on. In terms of the Senior Cup, now you look at how the season ended with how much silverware was at stake for all these Sunday sides and a lot of the lads that were involved in. Now, these competitions for our guys, in the sense of League Cup, Montague Cup, Doncaster and Rotherham, the charity cups, but it's obviously very difficult, and we're only talking about a minuscule thing. The Senior Cup, in terms of the Sheffield FA, is a waste of time from this league's point of view. So I think to keep interest at this level, because let's be fair, the whole league isn't in great nick like any Saturday league where people aren't paying. I feel that there needs to be some kind of reform where the Premier Division clubs in the County Senior League go into a cup competition with possibly Division 1 of the County Senior League and relevant Central Midlands League clubs. Because if you look at the actual results from the Sheffield Senior Cup, there were teams getting beat by 9. I think there was a double figures scoring one of them. I think Phoenix possibly it could have been. And you're looking at that thinking, if I were a player, I'd think that stuff that I'm not playing in that competition.
The Senior Cup game, I wasn't here. And again, we've got a scratch side out, and we conceded 7 to Handsworth.
But what would happen if we got Worksop Town?
Well, there's only ever going to be probably 4, 5, 6 at best teams who are going to win that competition. So everybody else, us included, are just making numbers up. But then you look at, like you've just said there, you look at our League Cup. So if you looked at Premiership in our league and Division 1, and similar to Doncaster League and Central Midlands League, who all entered a cup below Senior Cup, in our League Cup this year, semi-final, Barnsley Town in Division 2 got to semi-final. So there's always a team, an up-and-coming team, who are going to give Premiership sides in our league a game. So it would make a lot more sense to have a competition where people can actually compete for prize in that.
Because I don't understand the mentality of the Sheffield FA. Now, whether it's time's gone on and people have batted in Ireland and thought, we should change that. But for me, there needs to be massive reform, because you've got Worksop Town in step 3 and no bones about it, playing serious money out. Figures that you won't even think of it here or some of the other County Senior League clubs. So you're talking massive budgets of several £1,000s possibly a week, playing against Wombwell Main, who all the players are paying £4 to get walked if we draw them. And I just don't think it's fair on any of the clubs in our league.
I think I agree with that, but I think the biggest thing what I just can't get my head around is you're deemed good enough to enter that competition, but if you're drawn at home against somebody from a higher league, you have to play it away. So why put Wombwell Main in that competition?
Well, we were drawn at home, if you remember.
Yeah, but if we and I know it's regarding midweek fixtures, but why put us into a competition? If we drew, say, Dodworth or Swinton out of our league, we'd be allowed to play at home. But if we drew Handsworth, Ponty, then Wakey, then we're not allowed to. So why are we allowed to enter a competition but not allowed to use our pitch if we're drawn at home?
Yeah, I think there needs to be. I think it needs to be addressed sooner or later, because I personally think, if say we got drawn Worksop Town and it's 31st of October, which say I'm say for Wednesday, we're drawn at home. Obviously we can't play it at home because we've got lights in it, so we can't exactly play it dark. So if you then put the squad thing out saying, look guys, we've got to go trail over to Worksop Wednesday night, what do you, if it had been this season, what do you think you'd be reaction wise on the squad? Thumbs up.
we just got to side out, and a lot of lads who play with us want to play at this level because they don't want to commit to mid.
But would you? I mean, if you were a player playing this season and you saw that, would you think this will get walloped?
Yeah, you could have that argument. I mean, I've always seen it as other way. I've always seen it as it's a one-off. I remember playing against Sheffield FC when they were ice ranked side in competition, and we went away and played and lost 1-0. It was a good night out. We took a coach, but it's.
But it's got harder to get players now, hasn't it?
It is, and you look at other clubs now. We're competing against your likes of Wombwell Town, who were half a mile down the road. Then you go 2 miles towards sort of Donny, and you're competing against Durham District, who just got promotion into county senior, who are paying money. You go 3 miles towards Barnsley, and Wasborough Bridge are paying money. You go an extra 2 mile and you're playing others they reckon they're paying money. If you want to go out towards Doncaster, you look at teams out there and Waking. There's a lot of teams. We're in a bad catchment area as regards to people who are throwing a little bit of money at it. And young lads now, they want instant success. They want recognition that I'm a semi-pro, and it's harder and harder for us to compete. And we'll always promote good young players.
And I think as well. I think when they look at participation levels across the board in terms of overall for football at non-league level and grassroots level, which this deep down is, I don't think that when the leagues are setting their rules or the FA setting the rules, I don't think there were any thought around saying, well, you can use 5 subs now in the step 5 and 6, which I think was a massive mistake in my opinion, that you can use all 5 subs, because you now got a situation where lads who would be playing week in, week out for your Wombwell Mains at this level are suddenly in a position where, I'm 5th sub at Wasborough Bridge and I can actually play now, and I think it's had a massive detrimental effect.
I think it has, and going back to, we'll always give young players a chance, and it's happened this year. Young players are coming in and we're giving them the first opportunity at a good level of football at 17, 18. They're doing well for us, and then other teams are coming and looking and offering them money, whether it's Saturday or whether they're going to play. We've spoke about impact Sunday football's had. If these players weren't given an opportunity by us, these clubs won't look at them. They won't take a chance on them. They won't say, "Oh, come and play for us. We're in semi-finals, quarter-finals at Sheffield Senior Cup, but you've never played at a level." And then that frustrates me a little bit. That I'll never change. I'll never change my philosophy. I'll always want to. If you're good enough, you're old enough, it showed me a couple of lads last year. But I don't know if it's a different generation. I'd like to think that when people give you a fair crack and look after you, like any person who comes here, you included, James, any person who comes to Wombwell Main, the welcome with open arms, not just at football club, to the whole community, and we've done that with a lot of 17, 18, 19-year-old kids, give them the first opportunity, and they've gone on to bigger and better things, and that's great. But remember where you started, remember your roots, and and I'm not wanting anybody to pat us up back and say, "Oh, well, Terry did this and Paul did that," but it just frustrates me when people sometimes forget where it all started, and that's something what I find more and more difficult to get my head around, and it's happening more and more.
I think just going back a touch as well, thinking about participation levels, and obviously Paul, who's obviously belongs to us, who's league secretary, is a visible presence in the league, and people do go to him to mention issues and things like that. But I feel that, and it's not knocking the people in the league, but I do think we need a more visible presence at games by people on the league committee. And I think one thing I think should go on, rather than coming to the summer and saying rule changes with clubs, I think there needs to be, this might be need to be FA led, but more by the surveys done by local representatives from these leagues. But I think that in next season there needs to be a big survey done, but going to say Wombwell Main or Swinton on a match day and finding out what the players actually want. Because for instance, I think 3 o'clock kickoffs are very outdated now for this level of football. Because I look back now, before the pandemic, I think participation levels obviously were going down, but then the pandemic acted as a catalyst for people suddenly wanting to exercise. And obviously you couldn't go on holiday, or you could, but not in the way you can now for a long period of time. So lads wanted to play sport, and participation levels probably shot up to record levels for a period of time. Now, in my opinion, participation levels are starting to drop again, if not already, because you've got situations now like, oh, shall we go on holiday next week? Before pandemic, it was like, oh, I'm not that bothered. Whereas it's now, let's go. Yeah. They're wanting to get out and about, and I think Saturday night attitudes are certainly for the kind of players that we're talking about. They want to go out on a Saturday night. They're not going to stay in. And you think if they're going out, at 6 o'clock now. If they're playing football and you've got referees playing 20 minutes of added time, that's going to take it in. If you're 3 o'clock, it's going to take it into past 5 o'clock. So I think a move to 2 o'clock would act as a major transformative issue for this level.
I'd agree with that. It's always been, a 3 o'clock league, but what I think suits our lads, and I think suits the league better, 2 o'clock kick-off, because when they're finished, we will invite everybody back to our club, whether we put some bit of food on for them, run a football card, try and take a few quid back at bar. But lads like to be at club at 4:15, so they can see results coming in.
And they don't need to shoot off to go.
No, yeah.
They've got an hour at least.
Some of the gaffers are 3 o'clock kick-off. By the time they've got showered, and in this day and age, technology and what have you, most of the lads like a bet. So being in clubhouse at 4:30 and somebody saying, oh, I need this for me, 4 or what, I'm not a gambling man, I need this, and I've got all my homes, and I've got, it's good, it's a good atmospheric club. And I agree with you. I think that it needs to be looked at, and it shouldn't be. It's a 3 o'clock league, and there's no budging from that, apart from when it's a sort of darker nights. I think we agreement from teams. I think 2 o'clock makes a lot more sense. You can't really go sort of 1 o'clock because a lot of lads work Saturday morning. But I think 2 o'clock across board just makes a lot more sense.
And I think it makes life a lot easier when you recruit, when you're trying to get squads out on Saturday, not just ourselves but other clubs. I just think it'll make a massive difference. But I do think if I was the FA or if I were the league, I'd be getting out, come up with a survey, find out, just go and talk to players in warm-up like I do, and just find out what they feel should be better about the league. And some of the suggestions they might get is some things what you've never even thought of. Yeah. I just think it'll make a massive lot of difference. In terms of YouTube, how overwhelmed have you been by the interest? Because when we started with it, we didn't know where it was going to go, and we're talking over 2,000 people watching some of these videos.
There's a few things what I like to say, what I will say. I know when you first came over and mentioned it to me, I kind of just do a couple of games, and then you said something, I'm thinking about trying something new next season, would you be happy for it? And I'm like, yeah, for all me, it's not an issue for me. I think back end of last season, and the 8-minute winners, whatever people call us, I thought that day, and regardless, you get sort of go up in loft and you get all photos out, and or if it's such as your kid's 18th birthday, you get photos out when they're getting bathed in sink or when they've got on beach in the nappy, and you're like, let's embarrass them with that. But you look at what you've done for this club and for this league, and that probably 10 minutes of the game against Ecclesfield Red Rose were just brilliant. They were absolutely brilliant. We've had a lot of moments like that, and I think now we're going back to that Denby game when we went 1-0 down, one of their players shouted over like, get that on YouTube. Well, we're going to, if it's something that, negative, whether it's...
Well, how many car crashes have we had on the video this year?
Bad performance by us, we don't hide from that, we put it out there and this is what we are, warts and all, and I think that's what made it so successful, because you look now and people, sort of kids at school come up and say, I saw this video, sir, I saw that video, and all the clubs are doing the same. We've just put out open trials for starting next season, and a lot of people who've contacted us are just through what they've seen on YouTube. Just from a club point of view, when we've had really good, I've loved all season about it. I'm somebody who's not embarrassed to talk. It's not difficult for me to talk. I do it in assemblies, I do it in school quite often, so it doesn't bother me. But when things are going well for people and they're getting recognised or they're getting positive comments, people within the club will say, YouTube is brilliant, it's this, and when things aren't going so well, which they haven't for last
9 games or so.
Yeah, last few months. It's YouTube's fault then, we've got a target on his back. What a load of nonsense. I've been at Wombwell for 50 odd years, and any team, whether it was Longwood in Barnsley League or whether it were, a Sheffield side, a Donny side, they know who Wombwell Main are. Like us or lumpers, they know who we are, and whether we've got YouTube video or whether we've not. Beating Wombwell Main is a great, it's a badge of honour. We bet them, they're a well-established club, they're this, that. So what I would say to people is, you'll get opportunity, to play for us at whatever age. But if you can't play under pressure of playing for Wombwell Main, and that's not me being big-headed, this season we've had a difficult season, and we'll probably be the same next season. That don't particularly interest me. We'll keep doing things the right way, and I think that what you, James, have done for this league and for this club, there's no, if any club turn around and say, well, we will do it at our club, then that's because they're not a forward thinking or a club that want to move with times. Because what you've done for this club and what you've done for this league, you can't put a price on it. It's been class.
And I think you look at it in terms of like, if you don't want to appear on the videos other than obviously playing in the game, there's players who you won't know will play for us this season if you watch all the videos back. There's players in that dressing room who aren't actually appear on video other than in the game scenario.
Right, and then I think the best sort of biggest pat on your back that it is, people don't even know you're there now. Nobody acts any different now. They just get on with what they need to. And like you said, there's probably some players in our dressing room who never appear on camera through choice. There's some players who, they'll go out of the way to stick their head around the corner or stick a pork pie in the face. It's just how people are, and But
I think what I look back as well with the videos, you can't predict how the video is going to turn out in the sense of how I produce it. I'm not talking about the game, because some videos are a bit more fly on the wall, as in I don't really interact, but there's clips of you say talking to say Paul or Donovan. And then some videos, there's some quite deep issues. I mean, you look at that game we did at Oakwell, there's some nice things talked about in that, in terms of I think the Gareth Brown interview was possibly one of the best interviews you could find this season, talking about the challenges he'd gone through.
You look at the probably 2-minute video you did with Billy Taylor, class, absolute class, and what this club, I'd like to think what this club have done for him. It gave him so much confidence. Don't get me wrong, what Billy does for the club's great, but he feels a belonging, he feels part of it, and there's a lot of little snips like that. We're up here on Friday night. There were Barnsley semi-final up here, Cobker versus Woodbury United. And 3 guys who they religiously watch Woodbury Bridge. I don't know the names, 2 brothers and then another guy who comes with him, Nige, goalkeeping coach as usually with him. And they'll come up, made him a cup of tea, and they got talking about videos. And they said their favourite one was when we went to Southampton at Alton. He says because it wasn't even a football video, it was just you and James just talking and like comparing, I don't know, Battenbergs to Cherry Bay.
Oh yeah, we got onto that halfway through, didn't we? Yeah.
And then the Keith Donkin, you know, and they said it's not like any other type of football video you see. It was just 2 blokes watching a game and talking. He says, and they said that was their favourite video.
I think, and I don't want to go into the methodology behind how we're doing the videos, but there's a lot of social issues talked about and a lot of themes. Coming of age is a very big theme we've had this season in terms of the 16-year-olds coming in. We haven't talked about things like cost of living. We've talked about mental health. We've obviously, Billy brought that up.
Yeah.
In the Southampton video, we've talked about the passing of one of their players.
Yeah.
We've talked about very real life themes that people can relate to, and I think that's the biggest success for me. It's not about football, it's about real people and real issues, and I think that's why we've been a big success.
I think on that, I think it might have been George Martin, who I probably mentioned before. George, bless him, is no longer with us. When I was going through my coaching badges, George was a scout at Sheffield Wednesday, and to cut a long story short, George ended up taking me to Wednesdays and that's how I got working for them as a coach for probably 8-9 years. And I remember him saying to me, keep doing it while you're enjoying it. Once you stop enjoying it, that's time to pack in. And I would say there's been times this year when I've not enjoyed it. But you then look at other side of it and you see such as Kieran Harris and Archie, and they play for the first team, and then you know it's worthwhile.
And you know as well, you didn't know what were in that Billy interview until you saw the video, and until the following night. I've got tears in my eyes myself now, but when you watched that video, and we were playing Dodder the following night, and we'd be beaten by Jubilee, and things were a bit low. I think, actually we had it patched up side, so you were still scratching out for us well at the time. Did you watch
10 minutes before?
Yeah.
Paul Jake.
Put the pot pie mind tip for it. But did you think watching that Billy video? I don't care what happens in that Dodder game tomorrow night. That's the biggest victory that I've ever had at the club.
That's what it should be. And after first team, when again Archie, bless him, last game against Penistone, I rang him up on morning. Well, I messaged his mum on morning. Does he want to come and play for first team after a couple of games with reserves? And after the game, his mum sending me messages as though like, has that done something good? And it's just, it's bits like that.
Because I think we've seen stuff on Twitter this season which we don't react to, and we've seen comments, but we don't react to it. But when you, what did you think when you watched that Billy video?
That definitely brought tears to my eyes, because I sort of pick Billy up after games. I'll drop him off at home and he'll do all for me, proper. But he loves being part of a club. He loves being part of something where he feels he belongs. And for him to open up like he did, it was special.
And I think, you look at how bad the season ended results wise. But it's not about that first team, it's about the people, isn't it?
It should be, and that's how it... And
the community.
It's a sort of... It's the football club what's brought the YouTube thing about, but it's, Coronation Street ain't just about the Elvis return, it's about the bigger picture, and you just look at some clips, what's gone out there, and you look at
And how
just daft little things like our Jake, we talking about best fish and chips or
Wingrove's fitness test.
Fetch ball, just little snips like that. They're just brilliant. Mentioning a couple of canteen staff at work. Day after, they're like just so grateful.
I think as
got a big dinner as well.
And I think as well the pitch stuff when we were on up north, that must have brought home to how much it means to everybody as well in terms of all support.
Yeah, and a lot of messages that you get nonsense, but again in between all that nonsense, you get people who you don't even know. A guy phoned me up who got an allotment in North Yorkshire. We're trying to compare a football pitch being underwater with like a 4 foot, 5 foot patch of land, and he told me that he'd designed this hose pipe and stuck it in ground and they were pumping water out and it dried his pitch. And I'm like, he says, you can come up and see it if you want. And
as well, you've never...
It was brilliant.
But you mentioned this in another video as well, and obviously we're not going to name who it was, but you had a letter through the post and somebody who'd really tearful about the situation, seen the video, seen up north. And that's something what, you know, when people are taking the mick out of us with pitch problems, they don't realise actually it means so much to somebody that he donated quite a significant amount of money.
I spoke to Paul about that today, and we've sort of said, right, you know, season's done now, what sort of, and we've both mentioned the fact that we got them 2 donations from that guy, got us through season, and it genuinely got us through season. I don't think we'd have completed season without them donations. And
I know you down to the videos without 100%.
It's just football's just a small cog of what we're trying to do here, and or first team football. You look at walking football, you look at mini mainers, you look at, we've got a camp on today. It's a big community thing, and it will continue because it's got good.
Has there been any points of the season where you thought you've gone to bed and thinking I'm going to pack in tomorrow?
Yeah.
Or you say Eckworth game maybe?
No. Alton were close. I thought Alton were awful after Alton game.
Oh, you mean even this recent, was it that?
Yeah. And that's no disrespect to Alton because I thought on day they'd played really well, but I just looked and thought, why am I, and it's not just about me, but why am I putting all this effort in when, like I said earlier, there's 4 or 5 players on there who don't give monkeys. They just, you'll ask for a player availability and they'll look at who we're playing. Or we're playing Dodworth, who I'm not available for Dodworth. That'll be a chasing. Or we're playing Alton, who are struggling.
And you could argue the two games that we had passion in were Penniston and Dodworth with scratch sides.
Yeah, and that's the thing that frustrates me more than anything. You've got like people who haven't played for 2 years. Frosty haven't played for 2 years. I see Danny quite a lot, and he could see how much it were impacting on me and Toddy and Paul. And he said, I'll play. And I'm like, Frosty, I says that every year. He said, I'll play. And he came, got his kit, says, do you want me? And he came on against Dodworth and put a shift in. Jake, he brought grandkids to game against Dodworth. We ended up, Daz looked after Marcy and Theo, and Jake played. 10 minutes before kick-off we asked him to play, he got his boots on, we put a shift in, and that's all you ask. You just want people to play and show the same sort of passion as not just me and Paul, and you look at Toddy, you look at Titch, you look at Taff, you look at people who come to watch, and it's their weekend, that they live for weekend, and people just, some people don't understand, and that's why things will change, and you know, I know who, I've been doing this too long, and it's easy to see people pretending to make a tackle. It's easy to see people pretending to run. I nearly made that challenge. I'm going to name names on here, but I know 4 players will not play for me again.
On a light-hearted point, which is the best story in terms of getting recognised? Are you recognising petrol stations?
I don't know. Petrol station wasn't bad because I ain't seen Dave Best for a lot of years.
Yeah, we're shouting till he's siren across the forecast.
At 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning, he was quite a big kid, and I'm like, that one. No, I think the best one was in Gary. The first one in Garrison on Christmas Do when Joe Campbell's mate shouted me across pub, and I looked round to Paul Kane and I went, Paul, biggest bloke in pub. He's beckoning me over, get ready. And when Paul squeezed my hand and went, shall we run? And then he came over and he says, I love watching you on your team.
You were excited, wasn't it? But the irony is I said to you in the car, wasn't it? Have you been recognised yet? No, we don't.
And that was first time I've been recognised.
Have you been recognised, obviously Jake has, but have you been recognised at any junior games or under 16s yet?
Yeah, under 16s we played Answorth, a kid called Sean Hayes, good kid Hayes. Their kids wanted an interview off me. I didn't do an interview. And then we played Sheff FC under 16s up here. Great game, we lost 1-0. And that game they won league. And they'd seen all stuff about pitch and that. And we played it. It was only a month ago. Pitch was perfect, and they were like, "Well, you see, it looks well." I said, "We hadn't played on it. That's why it looks well." Anyway, after the game, a couple of their kids have come up and said, "Oh, we've seen it." After the game, they won league, so they were as normal. They get champagne and they start spraying champagne all over, and I just run across. I went, "Whoa! Stop your flood pitch!" And they like literally put the thumb in top of the champagne and walked off pitch. I'm only kidding. You're all right. So that was fun.
And another one actually, which you forget about, and you beat me there by 10 minutes. Now obviously it was all up north, and what we didn't know is because obviously BBC Breakfast on a Sunday reuse materials from Joy the Week, but this is national.
Yeah.
I'd seen a message in the morning on the Facebook page from somebody in Torquay and thought, hang on, that's a bit weird, we sent the same story. And then what happened when you walked that turnstile at Denby for that Westfield?
We were walking in and committee members from Westfield went, I've just had
well, Gaiman said something.
I'm just having a breakfast watching you. I'm like, what are you on about? He said, you've been on national TV. And I didn't even know at that point. No, I didn't know. So there's been some.
I mean, when you look back, if I said 2 years ago, I know next year we'll have to concoct some kind of crisis or something. Maybe Tony getting mowed down by his mower or something on mower on pitch. But if you'd said a year ago that you'd be on national TV or BBC Look North talking about Wombwell Mate, what would you have said?
No, I wouldn't have thought. I'd be on TV about something, but possibly not that. But I'd like to think that I'm quite well known in local football. But again, the game we talked about earlier when I went to League Cup final, number of people who came in through turnstiles, and it was Dodworth Emsworth final. Number of people who came in and spoke about YouTube stuff, men, women, kids, everybody. It just shows how many people that YouTube channel, it's been brilliant.
So I think just very quickly, because it's probably a bit longer than we planned, but in terms of the trials, then that's the next thing. Yeah. So what's the message? I mean, obviously we're going into next season, I think, available most week. If you're available on Saturday, that's probably the key this year.
Yeah.
And I think passion for the club, I think we're possibly looking at training regularly now as well.
Yeah, we've looked at, that's been a big thing. We've quite a few people who sort of saw us on YouTube and said, you know, I'm interested when you train. We don't train, and I'm not saying we're going to have big training sessions, but we're certainly going to book a facility where we do some five-a-side stuff. But as regards open trials, keep going on. My under-16s have come, they'll all be eligible to sign on this year if they want to play. So we just think that we're going to do an open trial session. We've had quite a lot of interest already. Any young players who you know, want to use us as a stepping stone for a couple of seasons to get senior football, we'd like to think that you'd come, you'd enjoy it and you'd want to stay, but we're under no illusions. If people are good enough, they'll be tempted to go elsewhere. But what we will say is you'll be looked after, hopefully you'll be coached the right way, and you'll have opportunity to play. So hopefully these open trials are going to bring in a few new faces. My 16s will come on board, and we've had a couple of lads who've played under 18 football this year and they want to come. So hopefully we'll get some new faces and we'll see how it goes. Should be good.
Well, I think that brings the curtain down on the season then, Terry.
How long has it lasted this season? About 13 months. It's been a long.
Well, you've only got a 2-week break. 4 trials.
Yeah, it is. No, 3 weeks I think it is. Isn't it? 3 weeks before we have trials. I'll put my feet up and watch Euros.
Right, shall we just go and check the pitches, alright?
What a long day out, so